Yes, I hope that you can all hear me, but I will present what I think is one of the most interesting stocks on the Danish Nasdaq First North platform. It's called FOM Technologies or FOM Technologies. So we are a Danish listed technology company enabling a green transition. And as you can see here, we are focusing on material research related to solar and batteries. FOM is not a one-man band. We have natural governance, me and the founder, Martin Kinnair, senior management, and then also a board that consists of 4 individuals. So I'm allowed to do one bragging slide. You will get it here. So some of our achievements. When we listed the company in 2020, we were actually the most oversubscribed IPO on First North in Denmark in 2020 with more than 700%. And we also yielded the best return the same year. 2021, we were voted the best IPO in Europe. And the following year, we also won the award for the best Danish listed growth company in 2022. Let's go to part 1, the equity story, which is the relevant topic for you guys here. FOM provides slot die coding, which is some high technology thing, but we do machines and equipment, so physical machines and equipment for material science around the world. And it's both research, so that is academia, research institutions and universities, but also corporates that do production of upscale. I try to see if I can be a little bit more specific, but if you do material research, you would often use what you see on the left-hand side, some trivial apparatus or machinery. It's called a spin coating. The disadvantages with this is that it's very time-consuming, slow. There's a high waste of material that you use, and it's very difficult to increase the area of the stuff that you are trying to coat. So this technology that we provide is called slot die coating, and we have machines where you apply this in an area where you can scale up and down. The value we bring is that it's much faster to do material research. There's almost zero waste, and we can coat on rigid materials that could be glass and metal, but also on flexible materials that could be foil. As you see on the right hand side, we have 2 types of equipment. And last but not least, it's very easy to scale up. So in essence, what is it that we do and what kind of problem are we solving? We coat these ultra-thin uniform layers. So ultra-thin means 1/100th of a hair. That is the thickness of the materials we can coat. And the uniformity means that it's replicable. You do the same every time you do it. So that is what we do. You can compare it a little bit to a 3D printer. So we provide a 3D printer, and then the scientific person can print whatever he wants. That is how it works. Super short. In year 2000, Alan J. Heeger won the Nobel Prize for discovering of conductive polymers. That is basically a piece of plastic that generates a current. And a lot of Danish researchers look into this. It also was really interesting. So in 2012, the company was spun out from the Danish Technical University because my co-founder decided to sell these machines. He did it with a partner. So for the next few years, they sold to academia, universities, and I teamed up with him in 2017. So we were still a 2-man band from there, and then we grew the company. Today we are 33 people. And we listed the company on the Danish First North exchange in 2020. So what is it that we're tapping into? Well, we are tapping into this major trend of sustainable energy, clean tech, that is booming around the world, whether it's solar or batteries and so forth. One of our latest customers is the Swedish battery company called Northvolt, and Novo Energy, which is a joint venture between Northvolt and Volvo Corporation. And a lot of activities within batteries is going on in Sweden particularly. We see the developing of the market of this S-curve that you in the really early days have seen what you consider as first movers. That's primarily academic customers. Then you see the early adopters that is trying to adopt this technology. and then we are looking for steep growth over the next decade and so. So that is the S-curve that we are tapping into. The business model is simple because we provide a physical solution, a machine. So the current business is, as you see on the left-hand side, is the hardware, which is our machines. We have our secret in the source, which is the slot head that you see here. And then the software, just like as if you look at your iPhone, why is that so popular? Well, it's hardware and some really intuitive software that has turned the smartphones into a device that more or less all of us have. And then we provide training and courses and so forth. Going forward, we are tapping into the service, which is a big thing going forward, and also the buzzword, which is Industry 4.0. You're collecting data in the cloud and so forth. So hardware machines that can do some exceptional material science. The software is important because that is how you operate things. We have worked a lot with the user interface. The software, we have what we define as recipe control, meaning that all the parameters you can store. And then when you get back to the machine in the morning, you can put in your settings, your name, and then all of your data will be stored. So we believe that hardware, state-of-the-art hardware combined with cutting-edge software is really, really important. And we know that this is important because we are very customer-centric, listening to the customers, and improve every time we get customer feedback. The product universe is, as I have explained, the coding machines. We have the slot die heads, which is sort of the secret in the source, the software, service and after sales, and also courses and training. We believe that we possess some knowledge that people would like to pay for, similar to when you call an expensive lawyer and so forth. On the right-hand side, you see our product range. We have on the x-axis the complexity, starting with the entry levels, moving into the more basic machines, then super advanced, fully automated machines, and tapping into the industrial level where the corporations are asking for equipment that can take them into the industrialization. And on the other axis, on the y-axis here, you have the machines for flexible materials that will be foils. All of them are based on rolls and drums. And for the more flat materials and rigid materials, you have the machines that is based on these sort of flat surface here where you can code. The supply chain is super important. We do not have our own production. We don't believe that that is the value chain where there's a lot of money. So we have chosen the best and the brightest sub-supplier. Then you can choose between the price, delivery time, and so forth. And it's primarily in Scandinavia. We have a lot of them in Sweden. Southern part of Sweden is industrial area. And we tend to say that 1 hour's transportation time from Copenhagen, that is where we have our sub-supplier. So what you see on the right of the dotted line, we have outsourced, and everything on to the left on the dotted line, we have insourced. Sales, marketing, the innovation, all the drawings is ours. And then we get the products from our sub-suppliers, and we test them in-house and make sure that the company is one point of entry when we ship out to the customers. A little bit about our customers and the application fields that they are operating within. We have decided to have 2 strategic segments. One is called energy storage, that is defined as batteries, fuel cells, and supercapacitors. So that is one strategic area, and the other area that we are serving is the area that we have defined as energy harvesting. How much energy can you withdraw and extract from the sun? So it's solar, and then there's some more exotic ways of looking at it. One of them is called tandem solar, where you combine different technologies, and also perovskite, which is a type of material that you use to increase the efficiency of the solar cells. So this is sort of the area that we are serving, and we provide our machinery to science people around the world that is doing research to optimize solar power and batteries and fuel cells and so forth. Super simple. I'm not a scientific person myself. I have a financial and economic background, but a battery consists of an anode and a cathode. and we can coat really thin layers of this, and we can coat really thin layers of the cathode as well. So if you open a battery, it consists of layers of these things, and that is what our machines can coat. One example, as I mentioned, is Novo Energy, joint venture between Northvolt and Volvo Corporation. They are based in Gothenburg, and we have just provided some really big machines for that corporation that has been commissioned last week. If we look into the solar panel market, the same, you have a traditional solar panel here, which is the silicon cell, and then you can coat a layer that you put on top of that. And then if this is one and this is one, we hope that combined they will be more than two. So you simply trying to extract as much as energy from the sun as possible. And a lot of researchers around the world is focusing on solar power, batteries, and so forth. First Solar is one of our customers listed on the NASDAQ exchange in the States. It's a US biggest solar panel manufacturer, and they are also customers with us. A little bit about the market distribution and our partners. Of course, being a small Scandinavian company, we can't reach the whole world by ourselves, so we have to team up. And we have more than 150 customers on all 6 continents. And we started off by focusing on what you have on the left-hand side, academic customers, universities and research institutions. And gradually we have been seeing corporates coming in and buying our equipment. Today, our revenue is split between 50% roughly academic customers and 50% corporate customers, but it's the corporate customers that are increasing the most, and it's a clear sign of that the technology is maturing. We have an example of a customer that is sort of in both of these segments. It's a Swedish company called Epishine. Started off as work on a university, Linköping University, and then the sort of work was spun out in a company called Epishine, and they had just attracted venture funding going forward. We are proud to say that we are born global. I believe that if you are smaller niche companies in Scandinavia, you need to have a global approach. So our revenue is more or less zero in Denmark. We have 1 or 2 machines. So it's the US, North America, US and Canada, and then it's Europe, and then it's Asia. These are the 3 pillars that we are standing on. Based in Copenhagen, and we have just established a fully owned subsidiary in the US that would be based in Seattle. And then we have showrooms where you can go and see the equipment, you can test it, and you can rent time with the scientific people. And then we're starting to get distributors around the world, because that is the best way of reaching out to customers. For the investor presentations where the company is saying that we don't have any competitors, they are either super lucky or they're lying. So I'm not going to say that we don't have any competitors. We do have that, and for a global market that is growing, I believe that competition is good. If you can grow with the market, or you can grow slightly better than the market, you have a very good opportunity to create value. And often with the new maturing technologies, it's good that you have other people and players that are plowing in front of you. So you have to differentiate yourself. We have the motto from lab to fab, meaning from laboratory to the fabrication. So we can take the customers from really small machineries and up till when they're tapping into the commercialization. We have some competitors. I have not put all of them here, but a handful based in Asia, in Europe, and also in the States. And we have to differentiate, and we are doing the real small machines and up till when you're tapping in, where some of our competitors are only doing the big machinery. A little bit about our financials. We had a really extraordinary good year in 2023. So we are a bit conservative. It might not be as good, but the revenue is 78 million Danish crowns, a little bit more than 100 million Swedish crowns. And accumulated since the company was founded, we have a revenue of more than 200 million Danish crowns. For me, it's important to stress because we have seen, at least in Denmark, too many startup companies and too many companies being listed on the First North exchange where the substance and the revenue are missing. And I think it's a shame because if you really can't get anybody to pay for your product, well, you have a problem with your business model. So we have at least shown that we have customers around the world who's paying for stuff of more than 200 million since we were founded. We have been profitable 9 out of 11 years, despite that it's really advanced technology, and we have been able to found most of it ourselves until 2020 when we got some extra capital. We have a contribution margin of around 50%, meaning that if you sell a machine for 100 Swedish crowns, then our variable cost to produce that machine would be 50 Swedish crown, and the rest would be covering the fixed cost, so forth. And going forward, when we increase the volume, we believe that we can end up an EBITDA margin of 10 to 15%. We are 33 full-time employees now. We are establishing subsidiaries in the States. We have 3 people there. And my founder will move his family and himself to Seattle, where he would head the boost of the US organization after the summer holiday. So we believe that that is the right choice for us. The US is accumulating more than 50% on our revenue now, so we see really, really big potential in the States going forward. So all in all, a very different kind of investment opportunity. We have a physical product, we are growing, and we have a global approach. So just rounding off with growth drivers, that is especially what investors are looking into, what kind of growth drivers are we looking at, and we have 6 of them here. Interest from the corporations, that is definitely what we see now coming in. Strong interest for upscaling, to see if you can use that technology in your production, and strong interest for especially energy storage, that is batteries and fuel cells and so forth. We have some new segments that is besides the 2 that I mentioned, the energy storage and the energy harvesting, that is within wafer coating, among others. And we are starting also to apply for patents. We cannot patent the slot die coating because that was invented back in the 50s, and that patent has long expired. Recurring business is service. That is what you are being approached by for the corporations. You know, how do you service these things going forward? So that we have established recently, and that's also a part of recurring business because that will come back year after year if you do service agreements. As mentioned, we are ramping up in the States, sales organization in the States. And the reason why I'm here is because we have more than 3,100 investors, private investors in Denmark. We also have a few institutional investors that we recently got on board. And we have 9 in Sweden. And we all know that the Swedish stock market is much, much bigger than the Danish one. So when I get invited, I would naturally come to places in Sweden to present our company. And last but not least, in the future, we are looking at a main market listing. Hopefully, we would move into the small cap main market in Denmark, because then you would be able to attract additional investors that are not allowed to invest in the First North platform. We would like to be slightly bigger because there's a lot of compliance related to the main market, small cap, but that is something out there in the future that we are looking for. So with that, I would just like to hear if there are any questions relating to our company and the business case here. So just shoot. Yes?
Can you maybe tell us how big the revenue share from the service segment is?
Yeah, right now it's 0. We established it the 1st of January. There are 3 people that was hired to boost that. I have talked to a lot of much more mature established companies, and they say that over a 5 to 7 year period, you should be able to grow that to 10 to 15% at the minimum. I have looked into Vestas, which is the big Danish windmill company. And today, and I know that they have spent a decade on that, but they have a revenue share where the service department is accumulating to around 20% of the revenue. So not only creates revenue and is recurring, but it's also to provide the best service for your customers.
Follow up, if I may, do you have any long-term growth targets?
For me, 100 million Danish crowns is sort of the first milestone, and then we see how fast we are growing from there. So that I think that would be a nice, decent-sized SME enterprise in Denmark. So around, what is that, 140-ish million Swedish crowns. Yes? Yes?
Your equipment, is that mainly for R&D purposes, or is it for serial production?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In the very beginning, it was for R&D. However, we would very much like to serve the production market. Every time we do innovation is with the purpose of being able to use that for real production. And how things are developing right now, it would be that often the real production for corporations is a lot of different process steps. And we would be one particular sort of step in that process, but we would own that process and be expert in that process. But we are building bigger and bigger equipment and focusing a lot of automation and robotics and so forth, so you can capture that market when you get to a stage where the market is more mature. And that's also why we took in some additional capital from institutional investors in order to boost the corporation part.